scaling distributed teams. So starting from what we know, we had an organization that had 3 offices in 3 different countries, 2,000 plus employees, 3 different country cultures and working cultures. We had a lot of business and development communication gaps, and also agile and waterfall environments to work with. Now, stepping into the organization, we identified some challenges. The top 6 of them, which are no deliveries on time, we had a lot of scope creeping, so we had to align an MVP, and we needed to find ways to deal with the scope creep. We had a very old software platform which had a lot of legacy code and huge technical debt, and all the knowledge was gathered around the architects. So we needed to break down the silo of the architects by building a team around them to get the knowledge and spread it to the teams. We had a lot of communication and collaboration between the teams within the offices and between the offices, and it was not clear of who was doing what. In that case, we had to conduct a working agreement and roles expectations workshop to set, let's say, all these areas. And we also introduced the Scrum of Scrums for better alignment of the teams. We didn't have proper planning and prioritization of the projects, and actually we had a huge roadmap and everyone was involved into that, and we were trying to make the turtle to run like a rabbit, which was impossible. So we split this huge roadmap into 3 roadmaps, and we introduced and set up some ceremonies to help the product owners and the key stakeholders to align and sync between them. We had a lot of employees turnover, many new members were joining, so we had this lack of knowledge and expertise to deal with. And we empowered, one of the things that we did, we empowered the Scrum teams to set up their own onboarding plan, and via communities of practice to improve it and communicate it between them. And a lot of unresolved impediments between the offices that caused a lot of frustration. We needed to set up an executive action team to deal with that. Now, diving into the unresolved impediments, each site had different impediments dependency between the sites, and also different priority of impediments. And the pain points that were created out of all these things that were happening, things were slowed down. We had a lot of frustration between the team members because things were not done and they were stuck always somewhere. We had too many workarounds to help us do our job, which was creating us a lot of waste. And if we visualize it, after a workshop that we conducted at the headquarters, including the middle and the higher management of all the offices, we built an impediment backlog of each of the country based on their point of view prioritization. And out of those 3 impediment backlogs, we built an organizational impediment backlog, which was the responsibility of the executive action team. The executive action team now, which was the site managers of each of the locations and the decision makers from the headquarters, they were responsible to maintain and update this backlog and get all these impediments that were unable to be resolved on a lower level, identify the risks that they had, the dependencies and the priorities based on the organizational needs, and they were taking decisions to resolve them and get things done. In this way, we help the teams to progress and move forward, let's say, from where they used to get stuck. Now, about the no deliveries on time and the scope creeping, each project had many stakeholders from different countries. Now, the pain points is like new stakeholders and product owners were hired, so we had lack of knowledge and expertise. We had difficulty to align and all the stakeholders and get them together due to their limited time of availability that they used to have. And we had overlapping decisions. One stakeholder's decision was canceling another stakeholder's decision. And also we had different prioritization from different stakeholders for the same project, which was causing confusion. And last but not least, of course, everybody wants everything yesterday. And that was resulting to have a scope creep. Now, what we did to deal with the unknown and the new hirings that we had, we decided to introduce the spike sprint, which was giving us all the data that we needed and all the knowledge to get a better picture, a clearer picture of what needed to be done to give a better estimation when the project will be delivered, let's say, and helped also the teams and the product owners and the stakeholders to gather this knowledge. About the MVP definition and the scope creeping, we came to a consensus and we used to ask, let's say, 3 questions to all the product owners and stakeholders. Does the MVP gives us the knowledge for the next delivery that we are about to have? After that, does it meet the top value customer based on the prioritization that we did? And at the end of it, the last question, can we deliver the MVP in 4 sprints? So we had to be more strict on the delivery of the MVP in 4 sprints. So we had something delivered from the teams. And about the scope creep, usually all the stakeholders were adding new things, or the product owners, or wherever it was coming from. We had to ask, did you remove any story from low priority and added the new story and reprioritize? So we needed to make sure that for everything that was coming in, something was being removed. So we didn't have the scope creep. Now, in order to align better, let's say, the product owners and the stakeholders, we introduced the Metascrum team dedicated for each roadmap. And by visualizing it, we can see, let's say, for each roadmap, we have the Metascrum, which the ownership was on the chief product owner. The participants were the key stakeholders, leadership, and product owners. So everyone was gathered in one room. So we didn't have this different decision making and different prioritization. It was one prioritization. And each of the roadmaps, all the chief product owners for each roadmap were gathered in an executive Metascrum team with executive management, aligning the organizational priorities, identifying the risks and dependencies on the roadmaps and between the roadmaps, and setting the delivery expectations based on what has been delivered on the last sprint. Now, the results that we managed to get out of all these improvement actions that we did, from 5% delivery on time, we reached 34%, which was a great achievement in such a short time. 80% of the teams were delivering the sprint commitment, which raised morale. We had better estimation of return of investment due to the spike sprint, that we were able to get a better picture of what needs to be delivered. The velocity was increased from the teams because of the resolving of the impediments from the executive action team. And also we noticed new ideas that were coming from the teams because we minimized frustration and we engaged more the employees on delivering.